Out of the thick, dark mud, a single pale blossom opens to the heavy morning sky. It carries absolutely no trace of the earth that made it. It is 4 in the morning in Hanoi, and out on the quiet water of West Lake, a small wooden boat pushes slowly through the dark. Sitting in the bow is a woman named Thu, now in her early 70s. With a sharp, sudden snap that echoes across the water, she harvests a single lotus flower. You watch her slowly fill her small boat with these vibrant pink blossoms, and you cannot help but wonder, why does a culture built on fierce resilience, a people who have survived centuries of unimaginable hardship, attach their deepest cultural identity to a fragile flower that shatters in the wind after only a few days? Welcome to Culture Journey. When you travel through Vietnam, it does not take long to realize that this is a country of intense, undeniable energy. The streets are a roaring river of motorbikes, the markets are a beautiful chaos of voices bargaining over fresh fruit, and the air is thick with the smoke of street-side grills turning pork over hot coals. It is a place that feels entirely alive, constantly moving forward. It can be overwhelming, it can be exhausting, it is magnificent. But beneath that loud, vibrant surface, there is a quiet heartbeat. There is a deep, ancient philosophy of stillness that anchors the people here. And if you want to understand that quiet heartbeat, you have to look away from the busy intersections and look toward the water. You have to understand the lotus. For the people of Vietnam, the lotus is not just a beautiful plant. It is a mirror. It is a reflection of the human soul. We follow Thu back to her home on the edge of the lake as the early morning sky turns a soft, luminous purple. Her house smells of dried earth and roasted green tea. She sits on a low wooden stool on her porch, surrounded by the mountain of pink flowers she just pulled from the dark water. She is making traditional lotus tea, a quiet art form that is slowly disappearing because it requires a level of patience that the modern world rarely affords. Watching her work is a quiet revelation. For the most traditional batches, she does not use the whole flower. Instead, she carefully extracts the tiny rice-like white anthers hidden deep inside the golden center. It takes hundreds of these delicate pieces, layered patiently with green tea leaves and roasted over multiple days, to create just one small batch of authentic lotus tea. It is a process of immense labor, but when you ask Thu why she does not use modern artificial flavorings to save time, she just smiles, her eyes crinkling at the corners. She tells you that you cannot rush grace. And in that simple observation, we find our first profound truth about this place. In a world that is obsessed with speed, with doing everything faster and cheaper, there are still pockets of human devotion where time is willingly surrendered to beauty. When you eventually drink a cup of this tea, pouring the pale yellow liquid from a small clay teapot, you are not just drinking a beverage. You are consuming the dawn. You are drinking the patience of an old woman sitting on a wooden stool in the dark. But the story of the lotus goes much deeper than the delicate scent of morning tea. To truly understand why this flower is the soul of Vietnam, you must look at where it grows. The lotus does not grow in clear, purified, running water. It cannot survive in a pristine mountain stream. The lotus requires mud. It requires stagnant, dark, decaying earth to take root. Rooted deep in the Buddhist philosophy that shaped this land, the mud represents the suffering, the chaos, and the difficult realities of human life. But here in Vietnam, this is not just an abstract religious concept. It is a lived practice. It is the poverty, the grief, the daily struggle, and the noise of the world. Most of us spend our entire lives trying to escape the mud. We try to build walls to keep the messiness of life away from us. But the lotus teaches something entirely different. The lotus uses the mud. It draws nutrients from the decay. It pushes its way up through the dark water. And when it finally breaks the surface and opens to the sun, the petals are immaculate. They are perfectly clean. The flower uses the suffering to create beauty, but it remains untainted by the darkness it came from. Standing on the edge of a muddy pond in the countryside, it becomes difficult not to think about your own life. How often do we resent the difficult periods, the heavy mud of our own experiences? What if the struggles we so desperately try to avoid are the exact materials we need to finally bloom? This philosophy of purity arising from chaos is not just an abstract religious concept here. It is lived out every single day on the streets. If you stand on a street corner in the ancient quarter of Hanoi during the morning rush hour, you will experience an absolute sensory overload. Horns are blaring, exhaust fumes fill the humid air, vendors are shouting their prices, and thousands of motorbikes are weaving around each other in a terrifying, mesmerizing dance. It is the very definition of modern urban chaos. And then, cutting right through the middle of that thick gray smog, you will see her, a woman riding a rusty bicycle, wearing a faded shirt and a traditional conical hat. Strapped to the back of her bicycle is a woven bamboo basket overflowing with hundreds of perfectly folded pink and white lotus flowers. She moves slowly through the roaring traffic. She does not yell, she just pedals steadily, carrying a mountain of pure, delicate beauty right through the middle of the exhaust and the noise. It is a striking paradox. You realize that in this culture, peace is not something you find by running away to a silent mountain retreat. Peace is something you carry with you directly through the chaos of the world. The sacred and the ordinary are not separated here. They share the same road. As the sun climbs higher, heating the pavement, we leave the loud city and travel far to the south, to the deep flooded plains of the Mekong Delta. The landscape here shifts entirely. The narrow streets of the north are replaced by endless horizons of flat green water. In Dong Thap province, the lotus fields stretch out as far as the eye can see. The scale is monumental. Here, the lotus is not just a spiritual symbol of purity. It is survival. It is food. It is life. We step onto a long wooden boat with a local farming family. The water is incredibly warm to the touch. Huge green lotus leaves, some as wide as umbrellas, sit on the surface of the water. When a sudden afternoon rainstorm rolls across the delta, a common occurrence in the deep south, the heavy raindrops hit these massive leaves with a sound like 1,000 tiny drums. The leaves catch the rainwater, holding it in a shimmering silver pool at the center. But the lotus leaf is covered in microscopic fibers that make it completely waterproof. The water cannot penetrate. As the pool of rain grows heavier, the great green leaf slowly tips forward, releasing the water back into the pond, and then springs back to its original shape, completely dry. It is a masterclass in the art of letting go. It holds the weight for a moment, and then it releases it. It carries nothing that it does not need. The family on the boat is harvesting the mature plants, and you quickly learn that in Vietnam, absolutely no part of the lotus is wasted. It is a plant of total generosity. The massive green leaves that shed the rain are gathered and sold to street food vendors in the cities, who use them to wrap warm, sticky rice. The leaf imparts a subtle, earthy, grassy flavor to the morning breakfast. The thick, muddy roots are pulled from the earth, washed clean, and sliced. If you sit at a small metal table on a wet sidewalk in the evening, you might be handed a porcelain bowl of rich pork bone broth. Floating in the clear liquid are these thick slices of lotus root. They have hollow tubes running completely through them, looking exactly like the chambers of a human heart. When you take a bite, the root is surprisingly crisp, having absorbed all the savory, that comforting warmth of the broth. Even the thick green stem of the flower holds a secret. An old woman sitting on the wooden deck of her house above the flooded river takes a lotus stem and carefully breaks it in half. She pulls the two pieces slowly apart. As she does, incredibly fine, almost invisible white threads are drawn out from inside the stem. These threads are the silk of the lotus. It takes thousands of these stems and months of painstaking labor to weave a single piece of fabric. But in Vietnam, these hidden threads are more than just a rare textile. In traditional poetry, they represent human relationships. They represent the invisible ties of karma, of family, of love. Even when two people are pulled apart by distance, by time, or by tragedy, the invisible threads remain. They stretch, but they hold. Watching her pull those delicate white threads from the broken green stem, you begin to wonder about the invisible lines connecting your own life. Who are you tethered to? What unseen threads hold you together when you feel broken apart? But perhaps the most profound discovery comes from the seed of the lotus. When the pink petals finally fall away, what remains on the stalk is a heavy green pod, shaped like a quiet bell and filled with seeds. The farmers crack these seeds open to extract the white flesh inside, which is naturally sweet and comforting. But if you look very closely at a raw lotus seed, You will see a tiny hole at the top. If you carefully split the white seed in half with your fingernail, you will find something hidden deep inside the center. It is a microscopic, bright green shoot. It is the embryo of the next plant. In Vietnamese, this tiny green center is called Tim Sen, the lotus heart. We return to Thu in Hanoi, sitting quietly as evening approaches. She has a small jar filled entirely with these tiny green lotus hearts. She pinches a few of them into a cup and pours boiling water over them. She hands the small cup to you. You take a sip and your face immediately tightens. The taste is incredibly, overwhelmingly bitter. It coats your tongue and throat with an astringent sharpness that makes you want to put the cup down. You ask her why anyone would drink this. She explains that the bitter heart of the lotus is a powerful traditional medicine. It is a sedative. It calms the nervous system. People who suffer from severe insomnia, people who are crippled by anxiety, people who cannot stop their minds from racing in the dark, they drink this bitter tea to finally find sleep. And here lies the most beautiful, quietly devastating paradox of the entire journey. In order to find rest, in order to cure the anxiety and find peace, you must first be willing to swallow the absolute most bitter part of the plant. Could you imagine living this way? Accepting that the bitter experiences in our lives are not punishments, but necessary medicines. What would it change for you if you believed that the hardest, most bitter moments of your past were actually the very things preparing your heart to finally find peace? The lotus does not offer an easy comfort. It offers a profound, grounded truth. You need the dark mud to grow. You need the heavy rain to learn how to let go. You need the bitter heart to find rest. The sun finally sets over Westlake, turning the sky into a brilliant canvas of bruised orange and deep indigo. The heat of the day begins to break, giving way to a cool evening breeze. On the water, the lotus flowers that have been blooming for 3 days begin to fade. The edges of the pink petals turn slightly brown, and then with a soft gust of wind, the petals detach. They do not wither slowly, they shatter. One by one, the large pink petals fall silently onto the dark surface of the water, floating like small paper boats before slowly sinking back into the mud. It feels tragic for a moment. All that effort to grow out of the darkness, all that beauty gone in a matter of days. But watching Thu, you see no sadness in her eyes. She knows that the shattering is not a failure. The falling of the petals is the entire point. By dropping its petals, the flower exposes the seed pod to the sun, allowing the next generation of life to mature and eventually fall into the water to start the cycle again. The beauty of the lotus is not meant to be possessed. It is meant to be witnessed, and then it is meant to be released. This is the soul of Vietnam. It is a culture that has endured impossible histories, carrying its heavy past without letting that past destroy its grace. It is a people who know how to live fiercely in the present moment, how to extract beauty from the mud, and how to let go when the wind changes. They know that true strength is not about building walls to keep the mud out. True strength is allowing yourself to be planted deep in the messiness of the world, drawing life from the chaos, and offering whatever beauty you have to the sky above. Thank you for walking with us today. If this journey brought you a moment of peace or helped you see the world a little differently, we invite you to subscribe and stay with us. There are so many more roads to walk, so many more quiet stories waiting to be heard. Leave a thought in the comments below. We would love to know which part of the lotus resonates most with your own life. Is it the resilience of the mud, the strength of the hidden threads, or the courage to swallow the bitter heart? Until next time, travel slowly, look closely, and take care of each other.